There's a cemetery on the outskirts of St. Albert near Edmonton, Alberta. It sits on the former grounds of the Edmonton Residential School that closed down in the late 1960s. In one corner is the Aboriginal cemetery, marked by a plaque on an ancient boulder. A few feet away is a large rock cairn erected in 1990 to commemorate those buried in this place. In the 25 years since the cairn was placed here, some of the lettering has faded, but you can clearly pick out the names, homes, dates of death, and ages etched into the cairn. There are 98 names. 98 Indigenous people who came from across Canada's provincial and territorial north to the Charles Camsell Indian Hospital in Edmonton between 1946 and 1966. 98 people who never returned home to live with their loved ones or be buried by them. There are newborns, teenagers, mothers and fathers, and grandparents. Most died from tuberculosis, a highly contagious infection that has existed in societies around the world since antiquity. TB typically attacks the lungs, but it can also affect the bones, internal organs, and glands. 50% of people with active TB, if left untreated, die from the disease. Indian residential schools were TB breeding grounds, and as northern Indigenous people moved into concentrated settlements to be near their children or to access trade, church, and government services in the wake of the fur trade collapse, it became an epidemic. In the mid-1950s, some estimates have 1/3 of Inuit infected with the disease. Many Inuit saw it as a kalunat, or white disease, that required outside treatments, except this meant actually being sent outside, thousands of kilometers away, to TB sanatoria in the south. They were screened through X-ray tours beginning in the late 1940s and sent to Indian hospitals like the Camsell by plane, often with little forewarning. At the time, doctors could only prescribe a rest cure, which often lasted years in a strange environment where loneliness and cultural misunderstandings abounded. In this era of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, former Indigenous patients have begun speaking of these experiences. They tell of a mixed legacy. There were bright spots of friendship and education and music and art. Some went on to medical careers. Indigenous health advocates such as Imilayo Ani Natak say, "Our gratitude is huge because treatment allowed many to survive who otherwise would not have." The cairn in the St. Albert Aboriginal Cemetery offers a window into the larger story of the Charles Camsell Indian Hospital and other institutions like it across Canada. It provides some answers for Northerners looking for loved ones, even as it raises many more questions for us all.